we'll sit and have a chat with T and Joe.
Hello. So those of you that used to watch when I vlogged, you might know that I used to do a thing called Tea Time with Joe. It didn't really work. I didn't keep up with it. I didn't collect my thoughts properly. Me and Lucy did a guest episode once, and we forgot to get cups of tea. The camera batteries. It was a shit show. So now that I've started Viewfinder, the reason the channel looks a bit differently, now that I've started it, I'm going to bring it back as its own thing. Just as a way for me to sit and talk about the things that are on my mind and the things that I care about. So Viewfinder's just a little umbrella name for all the different content that I'm trying to produce at the minute. One of them's the podcast that I do with Lucy on Fridays at 8 o'clock. And there's loads of other things like documentaries and interviews and all sorts of different content in the works. So yeah, last week on the podcast I talked about the Investigatory Powers Act, but I didn't go into that much detail because we're time limited. So I mentioned that the Act requires internet service providers to keep records of every website that their customers visit, and then make that available to a range of different government organisations if they request it. Also kind of mentioned that it would require tech companies like Apple to bypass the security of devices that they manufacture if the government asks them to. So yeah, I'm going to talk about that a little bit today, starting off with the full list of agencies that can request a copy of your full internet browsing history from your internet service provider. It's a lot of agencies. It's a lot of different people that can send a request to the government. So I'm getting most of my information here from The Independent. I'll link the websites that I'll link the stories that I'm reading for my information at the bottom. There's a lot of fake news going on, and I don't want you thinking that I'm part of the problem. This is just me sharing my opinions. So, I don't know about you, but for me, I've kind of always assumed that governments are watching pretty much everything that you do online. Turns out it's not the case until now. The agencies that can ask for a UK citizen's browsing history, which is in Schedule 4 of the bill, it covers the police services, British Transport Police, Military Defence, Ministry of Defence Police, Royal Navy Police, Royal Military, all the different polices, the security services, the secret intelligence services, GCHQ, who I can't remember what it stands for. Government Communications Headquarters. They're basically the NSA of the UK. They're listening to everyone's phone calls already. So I kind of assumed that they were already listening to watching browsing activity online. Same with the Ministry of Defence, the National Crime Agency, which is the UK's version of the FBI. But there's some weird ones in here. Some really weird ones. So I don't really know why NHS trusts would need to look at our internet history. Why does the NHS need to look at what we've been looking at online? Why do the fire and rescue authorities need to know what we're looking at online? The Food Standard Agency, Food Standards Scotland, the Gambling Commission, Health and Safety Executive, The Information Commissioner, I'm not sure what they do. Actually, I think I do. I think the Information Commissioner are the people that you go to when you file Freedom of Information requests. I'll have to check that out. Who else is there? Ambulance services, the Financial Conduct I kind of understand the Financial Conduct Authority if they're looking into white collar crime, fair enough. But there was another one. The Competition and Markets Authority. They're the people that make sure that energy companies are working competitively, that consumers have got a balanced set of choices when it comes to their energy, when it comes to telephone communications, when it comes to all sorts of different industries. But I don't understand why they need access to people's internet records. First of all, I need to talk about how it actually works. So again, given from what I've read from this article that's linked at the bottom, it looks like... Hang on, I need a drink. So it doesn't look like, say... Let's pick one off the list. Say the Food Standards Agency somehow come up with a reason that they want to look at my internet history. They can't just go talk to my internet service provider and say, yep, we'll have his full list of web activity for the year, please. They have to go to the Home Secretary, I think. Something like that. But even so, it's a ridiculous amount of people that have got the right to go to the government and say, yeah, I'd like to know what this guy's up to. I'm not comfortable with that. Some other ones, the Department of Transport and the Department of Work and Pensions. Transport, I've got no idea. They're the people that they decide who gets rail contracts for different parts of the city. Department of Work and Pensions, only thing I can think of is they are the people that run welfare and like disability, job seekers, that kind of thing. So unless they're like trying to figure out whether you're actually disabled, to see if you've gone skydiving, or for the job seekers people to see if they're actually looking for work, I don't know why they need the access. I've got a problem with this because I don't believe that governments should have that much access to our lives. In the podcast, I forget the name of the book that I'm thinking of. It might be 1984. Basically, I don't want to be at a stage where the government can just type in my name and find out exactly what I've been doing, what I'm not thinking. I think that we have a right to privacy. And I don't think that governments have got the right to invade that privacy. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not a crazy anti-government nut. I do believe that people need welfare. I do believe that government has a place in society. I don't want to cut funding to everything. But I don't want the government to have this much access to my life. That's it. I don't want to carry on ranting about this because I'm just going to end up repeating myself, but that's the basic premise of it. I don't want the government to have that much access to my life. Especially as a journalist. I am going to carry on ranting a little bit. As a journalist, I act against the government in the nicest possible of ways. I'm not like Guy Fawkes trying to blow anything up, but I believe that those in power should be held accountable for their actions. I think that's a really important part of democracy. So when I start looking into something, trying to get to the bottom of something that's going on, I don't want, say, the Food Standards Agency or the Gambling Commission, whoever it is that I'm looking into for a particular story, just saying, hang on, what's this journalist sniffing about at? And then just doing a quick search in a database and figuring it out. I think that much power in the hands of potentially corrupt individuals is incredibly dangerous. I don't want them to have that much access to my life. But that's just me. I'd love to know what you think. Leave a comment down below. I will reply to every comment, even if you're just calling me an idiot. Yeah, I really want this to be a conversation. Let me know what you think. And let me know what you think about MPs being exempt from this. They'll obviously still have their information collected because that's done by the internet service provider and not by the government. But it's a lot more difficult to request the information from MPs. So they want lots of access into our lives, but they don't want to give access to their own. I'd love to know what you think. Let me know in the comments or tweet me at Joe Dryden Reports. J Dryden Reports. It's at the bottom. Yeah, this has been Tea Time with Joe.